Hey there, I'm Brandy.
And I'm Paige.
We're the hosts of this thing.
Spectacular Specimens.
Spectacular Specimens is a show where Paige and I take turns showing each other
and you
some pretty amazing specimens.
In this case, a collection of dead animals.
Right. At the Burke Museum of Natural History and Culture.
We'll see what these specimens have to say about the living natural world. Brandy, it's your turn today.
Okay, Paige. Listen to this.
Brandy, what does that sound?
I'm glad you asked. The Burke Museum of Natural History and Culture is filled with animal specimens.
Dead animals for research.
Yes, but this is the sound of something alive in the museum.
Ooh, that's eerie. What is it?
This is the sound of a top secret workforce cleaning up a big mess of specimens.
Like a shadow janitor organization?
Actually, in a way, yes. There are thousands of Dermestid beetles working as the tiniest creature cleanup crew at the Burke, and they have cleanup skills so specialized, so revered, that the museum has tasked them with an important role.
So they are beetle janitors.
Sorta, but instead of a mop, they do their cleaning by eating.
Ooh.
Dermestid beetles eat the remains of dead animals, the feathers, fur, and the guts. And on today's menu, our secret workforce is devouring decaying remains of a pelican, a river otter, and a wolverine.
Ugh, secrets out.
Insightful, delightful, let's learn about the life cycle, solving mysteries with the power of curiosity. Creatures give us clues, unearth and uncover, spiders, bats, fossils, and birds, one after another. Let's open the box, dare you to look in. Teeth, bones, wings, fur, spectacular specimens. Spectacular specimens. Spectacular specimens. So much to learn from our not so furry friends. Spectacular specimens.
Okay, back up. There's a secret workforce of beetles dedicated to eating the remains of dead animals at the Burke Museum?
Yes, exactly that. Thousands of people visit the museum every year, and they get to see displays of animal skeletons, skulls, and bones in pristine condition. But very few know that it's the beetles making sure those bones are pristine, that there aren't little bits of guts and blood still dried on.
Because they're eating them.
Well, yeah. You might see a beautiful wolverine skeleton on display. That's not just for show. It's a specimen for scientific research. Specimens are almost like a time capsule of information for scientists.
Right. Did anybody do a background check on these beetle guys?
Oh, actually, I did do some more research, and I found out a whole bunch. Here's their file.
The Dermestid beetle, scientifically known as Dermestid maculatus, is a kind of decomposer, a living organism that breaks down dead organisms. This is a species of very tiny insects, almost the size of a grain of rice. Dermestid beetles spend their time gnawing and gnashing on rotted carcasses in the forest, the sides of the road, people's backyards, wherever dead animals are found.
They sound like quite the coworker.
Actually, most people who work at the museum never see the beetles. That's the whole, top secret workforce thing.
Whoa, really? Nobody?
Well, there is one person, and honestly, he works with the beetles all the time. His name is Jeff Bradley, and he's a mammologist at the Burke, a person who studies mammals, but also the collection manager for mammals.
You can think of the job of the collection manager as basically being the librarian.
Except instead of books, he manages a collection of 55,000 specimens.
Dead mammal librarian. All kinds of funky jobs in the specimen industry.
I mean, the Burke is chock full of specimens. You open up the cabinets, the drawers, shelves, freezers, and you'll see million-year-old species, birds from all over the world, marine life like whales from the depths of the oceans, jars filled with preserved amphibians, and even Komodo dragons. And in order to make the mammal specimens, Jeff works with the beetles.
I am the care provider for this species of Dermestid beetle here at the Burke.
And decomposers like Dermestid beetles are very important to his work.
Decomposers, like with an S, plural? So there are more creatures like Dermestid beetles?
Oh, yes. Dermestid beetles are actually part of a global cleanup crew, and they exist all over the world. You know, beaches, deserts, the Arctic.
When you're thinking of those decomposers, think of a big team.
You can think of it like shifts. Some decomposers take the morning shift, like blowflies or bacteria, coming in for that fresh meat and tissue, and then worms are working underground. But the beetles are like the late night crew. They do the detail work, coming in a week later once things have dried up.
It's part of the reason why they're one of the later arrivals among the decomposers, because they're specialized to eat the harder tissue.
Dermestid beetles are quite literally built for this line of work.
Okay, I'm listening.
So Dermestid beetles have this built-in dissolver in their mouths. They use it to process decaying animals and turn them into nutrients. These dissolvers are called enzymes. And with each chomp, they break down tough parts, essentially blasting it all into a smoothie.
Ew.
Cartilage, pulverized, feathers, obliterated, tendons, annihilated. And honestly, that's why they're so special. They can break down those tougher parts that other decomposers might have a hard time eating, like the feathers or cartilage. But every decomposer plays a distinct role, and every workplace is different.
There's different teams of decomposers depending on where you are. Certainly the tropical rainforest is going to have a different suite of species than the temperate rainforest, than the dry deserts. But any animal that dies in those places is eventually going to be decomposed.
Wow, love a balanced workplace. So the museum is effectively borrowing nature's cleanup crew for specimens.
Yeah, but before Jeff brings these soon-to-be specimens to the beetles, they have to be prepared.
Ooh, like getting a pep talk?
No. Well, actually, I'm not sure if they get a pep talk, but I'm not talking about emotional support. The mammal team at the Burke prepares specimens by recreating nature.
We come around the corner and we can see into the biology prep lab.
In the prep lab, researchers dissect and cut mammals as close to the bone as possible before our special cleanup crew, the Dermestids, take over doing the detail work that people just can't replicate.
It's a quiet lab this morning, but when we have something bloody going on, that's where it happens.
Through the window, you can see so much underway already. There are beakers of bones, bags of coyotes waiting for intake, and even a grizzly bear on what looked like a cookie tray.
I would call that a lab tray. It does resemble a cookie sheet, but won't be a cookie sheet anymore.
You can see all kinds of former cookie sheets in the lab. They're used to dry out animal specimens before they head to the beetles.
Baked to perfection.
No.
So where are these rotted tartar fanatics?
Well, more like rotted jerky.
Yeah. I have been to the Burke many times. I've never seen a single beetle at the museum.
And that's kind of on purpose. You'll never see the beetles. They are not on display, and they are not allowed near any exhibits.
Why, are they dangerous or something?
Well, you and I aren't in any danger, but these beetles are voracious eaters. They could eat a ton. And they need to be kept away from the collections, just in case they get hungry for specimens or cultural items on display.
The beetles could eat a museum?
Yeah, and if given the opportunity, they would sneak in on your sleeve and eat up whole exhibits worth of specimens and baskets and weavings and carvings.
No.
But Jeff keeps them busy with new menu items all the time. And after the break, I get the behind-the-scenes scoop on the beetles.
Ooh, inside the beetle cafeteria. Hey, did you know this show is actually being made because of the people who support KUOW Public Radio? Yep, we love them. If you want to help out, go to kuow.org/spectacular.
Getting to the beetles is like working your way through a maze of the museum. You go past the mammalogy department where Jeff works, through the bird team's hub, down past the fluid lab, down the stairs, and out the doors past business support. Hey, business support.
Hey.
And then you have to leave the main museum completely. And then you're out in the parking lot.
The beetles just live in the parking lot?
Not quite. You'll want to look for a black door, and behind that door is where the beetles live.
This is our beetle room.
We get inside, and the beetle room is cold and dark.
Is that part of it?
Well, these museum workers have conditions for their employment.
Like what?
First rule, keep it cold. If they get too warm, well, they can fly.
Fly?
And that would thwart a lot of our containment method.
Second rule, keep it dark. These beetles do their best work in the shadows. They'll scatter if it gets too bright. It's like the forever night shift.
So you went into a cold, dark room with flesh-eating beetles that could fly away if they got too warm. Got it. Okay. Sounds like an OSHA violation.
And that's not even all of it. The beetle room also has a distinct smell.
Poisonous gas?
No, in the corner of the room is this giant box with the beetles in it and all of their lunch.
The carcasses.
Yes, and the beetles feast on those carcasses for weeks at a time. And the proof is in the smell. They eat, fart, and poop all day long.
All day long? The beetle room must be filled to the brim with poop.
Not the brim. Their poop, also known as frass, does build up in the bottom of their box, though. And it just gets higher and higher.
And that's why every few years or so we'd have to clean out the bottom of that colony.
Dirty jobs for everyone.
Jeff opened the box, and I was face to face with thousands of Dermestid beetles. They were finishing off a desiccated, bone-dry river otter and a fisher, a Weasley-looking forest animal.
Oh.
And if they wanted to, they could get the bones, but Jeff intervenes on that part.
Intervenes?
They're transferred.
To another job.
To the freezer, which does kill them.
Oh my gosh.
It's part of the containment method. Again, if the beetles got into the museum, they would treat the exhibits like a Burke buffet.
Oh no.
It's fine to lose a few hundred every skeleton because they are reproducing and creating their own replacements.
That's mission-driven work for you.
Okay, so the river otter was pretty much devoured. So Jeff replaced it with a fresh new meal, a wolverine.
We prepped him in January, I believe, and he's been, the skeleton's just been sort of waiting in queue for there to be room in the beetle colony.
Just waiting in line to be eaten.
It's a capacity thing. The wolverine is a kit, or baby, that was found near Mount Rainier in Washington.
Oh, a baby wolverine? It's kind of sad.
Yeah. But finding this wolverine was a big deal. This was the first time in 100 years that wolverines were born near Mount Rainier.
I didn't realize they were so rare.
Yeah, there are only a handful of them in Washington.
So we need to study it. We need to find out what went wrong.
Every specimen has a story to tell, and this wolverine specimen story might tell us about the survival of rare baby wolverines.
We can take this skeleton of a wolverine, this powerful, fairly large animal, and get all the bones perfectly clean within a month and be ready for researchers to ask questions of it.
So after the top secret beetle organization does their thing...
Scientists will be able to study the bones. It could give clues about what it ate, if it was healthy, injured, and maybe why it died.
The wolverine gets another chance to be important. And the beetles help that.
This is like the one time being in a dying industry actually pays off. Decomposers are essential, and their missions extend well beyond the walls of the museum. Decomposers are essential workers out in nature, too.
In nature, it's a bit of a messier system, but you got to think, what would happen to all those dead carcasses in the woods of animals that died if we did not have decomposers to take care of them?
Okay, what would happen if we didn't have Dermestid beetles?
Well, as a thought experiment, at first I assumed that other decomposers would take over and make up for some of the loss of, say, if we lost all Dermestid beetles. There would still be other things out there eating dead animals, but probably not as efficiently and the whole system would be out of whack. There'd be a lot of dead animals laying all over the place. That wouldn't be good.
Laying all over the place? I can just smell the carcass piles at the beach, in the desert, in the forest.
Yeah, and you thought frass was bad.
At some point, there would be ecosystem-wide consequences. I would imagine it would be a bad thing if we were to lose a chunk of our decomposers.
Whoa, we really can't afford to lose any part of the decomposition team. Who would have thought that breaking things down would have that much of an impact?
I mean, also, it's not like they're just tossing things out or destroying them. The things Dermestid beetles eat eventually become frass, and that frass becomes nutrient-rich soil.
Your soil is beetle poop, and that rich soil would help a flower grow.
And even helps trees stay strong.
Yeah. Brandy, actually, I think breaking things down can lead to so many wonderful new things.
Now that is something to chew on. Want to have a big think about it?
Big thing!
What's something you've seen be broken down and turned into something new? Paige, I bet you break things down all the time.
Yeah, but I do not eat rotted dead animals.
No, not like that.
Oh.
But what about when you're doing math or composting or breaking down information in a multiplayer role-playing game? Something that requires both team building and creativity. Like, how do you balance farming with slaying monsters and also fishing and collecting resources to make the whole town a better place?
That is oddly specific.
I've been playing this video game, and I've been obsessing about it. Anyway, let's get back to the point.
Yes.
What's something you've seen be broken down and turned into something new?
I mean, you're right. We all break things down in math equations and complicated ideas. And even when we eat our food, we're breaking it down and it becomes fuel. But that is a lot to digest.
Let's take a little break and think about it. And my friends listening, do you have any examples of anything you break down that you've seen turn into something new? Let's check in after the break. Hey, have you downloaded your activity book yet? There's a link to get it in the show notes. Or you can text SPECTACULAR to 206-926-9955. Okay, back to the big think. Remember the big think question. What's something you've seen be broken down and turned into something new? Maybe it was in your backyard or in your neighborhood. Paige?
Well, in my garden, a lot of the leaves from the fall always collect around the area, and now those leaves are breaking down and turning into the richest, nutrient-dense soil you've ever seen. Sounds like the work of a decomposer again.
Well.
But I'm planning on keeping it going and encouraging that soil to keep making new things. I'm gonna grow the biggest tomatoes you've ever seen, Brandy.
Ooh, I can't wait to see them.
You just watch. Okay, what about you?
Okay, so when I get a package and it comes in a cardboard box,
Yeah.
I see so many possibilities. I can break down the box, cut it, transform it, and turn it into an art project or a costume for Halloween.
Ooh, that's a sweet craft. And that seems similar to the Beatles.
Yeah, I'm taking something that seems like it's done being useful and finding another purpose for it.
That is a fun way to break things down. I have to admit, a shadow janitor organization eating dead animals at the Burke Museum is not who I expected to learn from today. But imagine if we couldn't break things down, or worse, if they took a day off.
The world would be overwhelmed with
Frass.
stuff and waste, and it would pile up for centuries.
Dermestid Beetles, keeping the natural system in check. Just these invisible, unsung tiny heroes.
Very tiny, hungry heroes. I'm really glad to see you warming up to the Beatles.
Not too warm. Don't want them to fly away.
Okay, close enough. That'll do it for today. Thanks for thinking big with us. And of course, let us know some of the things you break down and what impact you're having. We'd love to check out some more ways to break things down, make new things. There are all kinds of ways to get in touch in today's show notes. Spectacular Specimens was created by me, Brandy Fullwood,
And me, Paige Browning.
with KUOW Public Radio in Seattle in collaboration with the Burke Museum of Natural History and Culture, with fact-checking by April Craig. Emily Noakes made our theme music, and Eric Blood mixed the song. It's always stuck in my head.
Same.
So much of our show music is composed by Emily Noakes. If you like our show and want to hear a whole lot more of it, please rate it and review it. It really helps. Alrighty.
Oh, and we have even more spectacular waiting for you right now. An episode where we visit a 66-million-year-old crime scene. And an episode where we meet the cutest, toughest creature in the ocean.
Talk soon.
Bug you later.
Inside